Here is the first boomer shooter that I'm going to review. A lot of its design is similar to the style that comes from 90s shooters like Doom. This game was made by Auroch Digital. I have never heard of this studio before this game. They started in 2010. It looks like they've been taking 80s and 90s PC games and updating them to run on modern operating systems and consoles, games like Ogre and Dark Future. It was published by Focus Entertainment, founded in 1996. This company, I know who they are. They publish Farming Simulator, but also A Plague Tale, Evil West. In 2023, they also published Atomic Heart and Aliens Dark Descent. They are also going to be publishing Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. So both of these companies are pretty big, and the publisher is over 25 years old. There's longevity there. This game looks pretty good, and the marketing team made it clear this is supposed to be a love letter to 90s FPS games. Originally announced in early 2022 at a Warhammer event, the release date was announced May 23, 2023. They also revealed who the voice actor for the game's protagonist, Malum Sato, and that there would be modern enemy AI and sprite creation. All that seems pretty cool, and this game could be a great shooter for people to play for years to come, just like people still play Wolfenstein 3D or Doom and Doom 2. I need to let it be known to the Warhammer fans that I know nothing about the lore of Warhammer. I know that this game is supposed to be a sequel to Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine that came out in 2011, but I never played that game. The graphics are amazing, unless you don't like the look of 90s FPS games like Doom 2. The characters are sprites, not 3D models. This is a style that I really like. It might be because of my age, and this is what FPS games looked like when I was a kid. Doom 2, Descent, Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Unreal, classic FPS games that the genre was built on. If you don't like the look of the game, that's fine, but I think it looks amazing. Other people might see this as a cheap way to capitalize on nostalgia. Maybe you are right in some aspects, but not all of them. It looks clean and solid until you get into fights that have you switching from guns to the chainsaw. Then there are puddles of blood and body parts that roll around the map to show the amount of damage you've done. If you are watching the gameplay and this game just doesn't look good to you, nothing will change that. This is the visual style that they chose. I love it, but I do understand why some people hate it. Now, the music is one of the best parts of this game. When you are not in combat, there won't really be much music. But when you get into combat, the music is the type of music a lot of people would say it's metal, but there's a bit more going on there. And while I'm talking about this, I've seen some people also say that this soundtrack sucks, just calling it generic riff A. They didn't just cover Slayer and Metallica in MIDI, like id did back in the day on Doom. They made new music that's great. They should have made more music for this game, and maybe they should have gone harder. Then people wouldn't have anything to complain about with the soundtrack. I cannot recommend this soundtrack enough. I'm listening to it while I write this review. That should tell you how much I like this album, despite how short it is. This game has a pretty simple story, despite the fact that it's tied to Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. The game takes place on Graia, a few years after the events of Space Marine. You play as Malum Sato, a Sternguard veteran Space Marine from the Ultramarines chapter. He is sent to Graia by the Inquisition, tasked with retrieving a power source. During planetfall, the drop pod is damaged, leaving Malum as the only survivor. Now you must fight your way through Chaos forces when it is discovered that Tumulus Samuel, a Chaos sorcerer, is looking for the same power source. He has already gotten information as to where the power source is. It becomes a race to get there first as you shred your way through the Chaos forces. When you reach the vault with the power source, you learn Samuel beat you there. He has already taken the power source and is attacking the orbital space station above Graia. Samuel uses the power source to enlarge a warp rift and threatens to engulf Graia. After fighting through the space station, you reach Samuel for one last brutal fight. After defeating him for the last time, Inquisitor Siebel retrieves the power source, and then the warp rift begins to close. Inquisitor Siebel warns Malum that there is still Chaos forces on Graia, so he prepares for his next trial. Not the deepest story. Find the power source, someone beats you to it, now kill them. That's the quick TLDR if you didn't care about anything. It does what all other 90s FPS games used to do. Doom, kill demons, escape hell. Wolfenstein, kill Hitler. Duke Nukem 3D, kill those aliens before they take all the women. Not a deep story, just something to justify the combat. If you want a deep story that will take you hours to figure out what happened, this is not that. This is a simple story. I think that's fine. I'm sure there's some writer out there that has hundreds of ideas for what should have happened, but this story does exactly what it needs to do: set up a 90s style FPS game. The gameplay might just be the best part of this game. Yeah, it's very basic, but getting into fights and running around the map while getting health pickups as you're running and shooting, never stop moving, then using the chainsword on enemies is so much fun. Just running up to an enemy and just cutting them to pieces. There are 8 weapons, and each of them have their own level. Why do they have their own level? The enemies have levels. So if you hit an enemy with a gun that has a higher level than your enemy, it will do more damage, and weapons with lower levels won't do as much damage. But that doesn't make those weapons useless. As you run around in gunfights, you're going to be changing weapons every time you turn a corner, not just to preserve ammo on power weapons, but also to deal damage to smaller enemies, where using the chain gun or gravity gun would just be a waste of ammo. You need to think as you fight, changing what level you're on based on where most of the enemies are, throwing grenades to take out large groups of small enemies, and while all of this is going on, looking for secrets like damage boosts, weapon add-ons for the Boltgun, infinite ammo, shield pickups. This is a 90s FPS game. It's just done so well in every way. The combat is easily my favorite part of this game. This is a love letter to 90s FPS games in all of the best ways. If you like Doom 2 or Duke Nukem 3D, this is the game for you. But if you want a game like Call of Duty, this is definitely not for you. That is the best way I can put it for you. If you like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, you might want to give this a shot. The visuals, the music, the gameplay, it's like a time machine that shows you what you're missing out on if you've never played a classic 90s FPS. If you like this style of game, that can get a little stressful from time to time. But if you want a game where you're basically a god, this is not the game for you. You will die, especially on the harder difficulty, but starting the encounter over and seeing what you can do differently is one of the best things about this game. This is a game that it's hard for me to say anything negative about. It's not perfect, but goddamn if it isn't close. I'd give this game an 8 out of 10. Great game that I will recommend to everyone that tells me they are looking for an FPS to play. It hits all the right notes in the right order. But tell me what you thought in the comments section down below. Have you tried this game? And what do you think about the revival of 90s FPS games? Also, while you're down there, you can like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit that little bell for notifications, and I'll see you all next time.